Hello and welcome to Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Tina Jha with News Tonight, where we get you all that's making news across the country and around the world. The number of COVID-19 cases in the country have gone up to 37,776, with 2,411 fresh cases reported in the last 24 hours. The death toll has also gone up to 1,223 after 71 more people succumbed to the infection since yesterday. As per the latest advisory issued by the MHA, all metro cities, Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, Chennai, Hyderabad, Ahmedabad and also Bengaluru are COVID-19 red zones. In this report, let's bring you all state-specific details on COVID-19. Maharashtra on Friday extended 100% free treatment for COVID-19 patients in all private as well as government-run hospitals. For this, the state government has brought all its residents under the Mahatma Jyotiba Phule Health Insurance Scheme. The state has the highest number of COVID-19 patients and deaths so far. It has identified 14 districts in red zones, 16 orange zones and 6 green zones of the total 36 zones. The Mumbai metropolitan region, that includes Thane, Navi Mumbai, Kalyan, Vasai, Virar and cities like Nagpur, Pune and Nashik are among the major hotspots in the state. The number of COVID-19 positive cases in a Delhi-based battalion of the CRPF has risen to 122. The men belong to the 31st Battalion of the paramilitary based in East Delhi's Mayur Vihar Phase 3 area. The area has been entirely sealed after the huge numbers of COVID-19 infections started building up over the last few days. A 55-year-old sub-inspector of the unit had succumbed to the disease earlier this week. With 223 fresh cases of coronavirus, the COVID-19 cases tally has risen to 3,738 in Delhi. 2 more deaths were also reported, taking the fatalities to 61. All 11 districts of the national capital will remain in the red zone until the 17th of May. Tamil Nadu reported the highest spike in coronavirus cases in the last 24 hours with 203 new cases. Chennai is the largest hotspot in the state. According to reports, vegetable wholesale markets in Chennai's Coimbatore area have emerged as one of the primary reasons for coronavirus spread. 28 people have lost their lives due to coronavirus in the state so far. Andhra Pradesh on Saturday reported 62 new COVID-19 cases in the last 24 hours, taking the total number of positive cases in the state to 1,525. According to the Andhra Pradesh Health Department, the toll stands at 33. Gujarat has the second highest number of cases after Maharashtra. Ahmedabad has reported 3/4 of the total number of cases and deaths in the state and has the highest growth multiple of 5.13 in the last 12 days. Its mortality rate of 4.92 is also much above the national average of 3.2. So far, 481 districts have confirmed cases in the country, out of which 130 districts come under the red zones, 284 in orange zones and 319 identified as green zones. 5 districts, Mumbai, Ahmedabad, Chennai, New Delhi and Jodhpur have accounted for half of all new cases over the past 2 days. The first batch of 1,200 migrant workers arrived in Jharkhand's Ranchi from Lingampalli in Telangana on a special Shramik train. The train from Telangana reached Hatia railway station on Friday night, where all arrangements for their arrival and departure for the forward journey in buses were made. This is the first special train that reached Hatia after the centre's announcement to run such services to facilitate stranded labourers and workers across the country. Another special train carrying over 300 stranded labourers from Nashik in Maharashtra reached Bhopal on Saturday morning. A district administration official said all the passengers brought from Nashik would be screened before being sent to their respective towns in different buses. Another special train carrying migrant workers and stranded people from Jaipur reached Patna on Saturday.
सर हम लोग फंसे हुए थे 3-4 महीने से आप लोगों को क्या क्या दिक्कत हुई वहाँ पे?
बहुत कष्ट हो रहा था वहाँ पे हम लोग को।
यहाँ पर जो भी प्लेटफॉर्म पर लोग आए हैं उनको सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग का नॉर्म फॉलो कराया जा रहा है। इसके बगल में रेलवे स्कूल है, उसमें ले जाया जाएगा और वहाँ पर मेडिकल स्क्रीनिंग कराई जाएगी। जो आए हैं यहाँ मेडिकल स्क्रीनिंग होगी, उसके बाद संबंधित जिलों में इनको बसेस के माध्यम से भेजा जाएगा। उन जिलों में, सभी जिलों में प्रॉप क्वारंटाइन सेंटर बनाए गए हैं, जैसे पटना जिले में बनाए गए हैं।
Around 1,100 migrant workers from Maluwa in Kochi left for Bhubaneswar in Odisha on Friday night. The train is expected to reach Bhubaneswar on Sunday. While 4 more special trains departed from Thiruvananthapuram, Kochi, Tirur and Kozhikode stations in Kerala on Saturday to transport migrant labourers. In a relief to migrant labourers stuck in various places across the country, the Indian Railways on Friday started operating Shramik special trains to move them to their home states. Meanwhile, 4 buses from Maharashtra brought back stranded students from Kota in Rajasthan on Friday night. President Ramnath Kovind has applauded Prime Minister Narendra Modi for taking timely and effective steps in dealing with COVID-19 and ensuring that India takes a leading role in fighting against this pandemic. In an interview to a news daily, President Kovind said the way the country has effectively dealt with the pandemic under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi and the Chief Ministers can be seen as the India model. He said data shows that the India model has been successful. The President added that India has supplied medicines to more than 100 countries in the spirit of Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam and live and let live. He stated that following the global crisis, the world will move from economic globalization to health globalization. He also expressed confidence that India will emerge as a more self-reliant nation out of this challenge. The President added that the maturity shown by the leadership, administration and citizens is being praised worldwide. He also said this period has shown the importance of strengthening democratic roots in the country. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu on Saturday wrote in a Facebook post that Lockdown 3.0, which is starting on the 4th of May for the next 2 weeks, is to balance the twin concerns of lives and livelihoods. In the post, the Vice President urged everyone to not lower the guard against COVID-19 while calling for a well-calibrated, collaborative response. Venkaiah Naidu said the onus of taking forward the fight against the novel coronavirus was more in the hands of stakeholders, including the people, state governments and concerned agencies, commercial and industrial establishments and others. He said the modalities of Lockdown 3.0 are a clear acknowledgement of the need to balance the twin concerns of lives and livelihoods by kick-starting the economy. He said that the measures announced for this lockdown highlight the need to resume economic activities, and it also fits with the prevailing situation on the ground. He reiterated that wearing masks, maintaining social distance and avoiding gatherings is a rule that must be followed to defeat the virus. The Vice President added that Indians have so far successfully adopted a new version of COVID as a tool, that is, commonality of vision, intent and determination to fight coronavirus disease, and that we need to persist with it. He also said that the way we conduct during these 2 weeks will lay the ground for further course of action. In the end, the Vice President also appealed to all citizens to rise to the occasion. And the Vice President has once again raised the issue of farmers' distress, especially the horticultural growers, during the coronavirus-induced lockdown. In a series of tweets, the Vice President welcomed the decision of the Indian Railways to resume goods and parcel services. He said that the move will provide much-needed relief to farmers as they will be able to transport perishable items in time. He urged state governments and district authorities to step in to make optimum use of rail services so that farmers do not incur losses. He also asked authorities to ensure smooth connectivity between the farm and the nearest railway facility. The Vice President has raised the matter with Home Minister Amit Shah and Railway Minister Piyush Goyal. He said he is confident that the centre and states will effectively coordinate and implement various measures to address the concerns of the farmers. Ahead of the third phase of the lockdown that begins on Monday, all states and union territories have been issued guidelines that need to be followed for 3 zones. In this report, let's try and understand how these zones are categorized and what steps need to be followed in each of these zones. Red zones or hotspots are districts that have the highest caseload. They are defined as such by the Health Ministry based on the number of active cases, doubling rate, extent of testing and surveillance feedback. Green zones are districts with zero confirmed case till date. There are also districts with no confirmed cases in the last 21 days. While orange zones are districts which are neither defined as red or as green zones. As per the guidelines, the states may consider adding districts into red or orange zones. However, they cannot lower the classification of any district. The government has eased lockdown rules in red zones this time. Private cars with 2 persons and 2-wheelers without pillion riders are allowed for permitted activities. Limited business activities are allowed in urban areas including SEZs, export-oriented units, industrial estates among a few others. Manufacturing units of essential goods and medical supplies are also allowed to function. All industrial units are allowed in rural areas. Limited construction activities are allowed in urban areas and fully in rural areas. All malls, market complexes and markets will remain closed except shops selling essential goods and standalone shops. All shops except those in malls can open in rural areas. Private offices can operate with up to 33% strength, while the remaining people can work from home. Government offices can function with limited staff as per advisory. Services by electricians, IT repairs, plumbers, carpenters, etc. will now be allowed except in containment zones. All agriculture, plantation and animal husbandry activities are also permitted. Cycle and auto rickshaws, cabs and buses are not allowed in red zones. Along with the activities allowed in green zones, some additional allowances have been given for orange zones. These include taxis and cab aggregators allowed with a driver and 2 passengers, inter-district movement of individuals and vehicles for permitted activities. However, inter-district and intra-district plying of buses is still not allowed. All activities are allowed in green zones other than the ones banned in all zones. Buses and bus depots can operate with up to 50% seating capacity. Within containment zones, contact tracing, quarantining of high-risk individuals is to be carried out. Testing of all cases with severe acute respiratory infection, influenza-like symptoms, and strict perimeter control and restricted movement of persons. The government is working on a mega plan to evacuate Indian nationals stranded in different parts of the world due to the COVID-19 lockdown. The top military brass has reportedly said armed forces are ready to play their role in evacuating thousands of Indians stranded in the Gulf and other regions, as a sizable number of aircraft and naval ships have been put on standby for the mission. Officials said the Indian Air Force has kept around 30 aircraft ready for the evacuation mission. The IAF has already brought back hundreds of people from China and Iran. The government has already reached out to several states asking them to make necessary arrangements for the Indians when they are brought back home under the multi-agency operation. On Saturday, Russia operated its 4th dedicated flight to take back Russian nationals from India. 271 Russian nationals stranded in India were flown back to St. Petersburg and Moscow by a special flight from the Indira Gandhi International Airport in New Delhi. So far, 2,282 people have been evacuated ever since India announced its nationwide lockdown. Several countries have been carrying out special operations to evacuate their citizens stranded in foreign countries amid the outbreak of the coronavirus. India evacuated 2,468 foreign nationals before the lockdown. Post that, it has facilitated repatriation of 58,000 foreign nationals from 72 countries. And talking about the COVID-19 situation worldwide, European countries are finally seeing a drop in the number of COVID-19 infections as well as fertility rate this week. In Italy, active infections dropped by 608 cases to a total of 1,943 on Friday. There were also 2,304 new recoveries. The country is now preparing to ease the national lockdown in view of the declining number of COVID cases and fatalities. Manufacturing, construction and wholesale sectors will be allowed to resume productive activities on the 4th of May. Stores and museums will be allowed to reopen from the 18th of May, while restaurants, cafes and salons will reopen on the 1st of June. Italy has been under nationwide lockdown since the 10th of March due to the coronavirus pandemic. Spain, meanwhile, reported 2,626 new recoveries over the past 24 hours, taking the total number of recoveries to 1,14,678 in the country. The overall confirmed cases is over 2,40,000. France on Friday registered its lowest number of coronavirus-related deaths in over a month. The number of deaths stand at 24,594, while the overall cases rose to 1,67,346. In a major relief to professionals and immigrants from several countries, including India, the United States announced relaxations for H-1B visa holders and also green card applicants. A grace period of 60 days has been granted to such individuals, and they have been served notices for submitting various documents for consideration. Singapore also plans to ease restrictions and reopen its economy over the next few weeks. Home-based businesses, laundry services and barbers will be allowed to operate from 12th May. Students will be allowed to go back to schools in small groups starting 19th of May. While Russia saw a major surge in new cases, 7,933 new COVID confirmed cases were registered in a single day, bringing the number of infections to 1,14,431 in the country. Russian President Vladimir Putin has extended national paid leave and self-isolation measures until the 11th of May and ordered the government to prepare for gradual lifting of restrictions from the 12th of May. The total number of confirmed cases of COVID-19 worldwide has crossed 3.4 million, while 2,39,627 people have lost their lives to the deadly virus. Amid the global fight against the COVID-19 pandemic, several countries of the world have joined hands to share their resources.
Countries like India, South Korea and Taiwan have already taken the lead in extending help to each other as well as to the developed nations. When COVID-19 surfaced in China, South Korea was the first to help China by providing test kits and personal protective equipment. India has also helped no less than 85 countries with medicines.
One of the interesting aspects of cooperation in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic is that it is not driven by the US or by China. So you have other countries, taking the lead in providing assistance to developing countries. I mean, clear instances are Taiwan, South Korea, and India. And even on a number of other issues, whether it is providing assistance to Iran, the EU countries like France and Germany have sort of stepped in and used the special purpose vehicle to provide assistance to Iran. So the narrative is not just driven solely by the US and China.
Multilateral organizations like SAARC, G20 and BRICS are working with each other to find solutions to the medical needs and economic disruptions in member countries. It was Prime Minister Narendra Modi who took the lead in convening a video summit of SAARC nations. It was also at his behest that Saudi Arabia organized a video conference summit of G20 leaders. The G20 recently conducted meetings among all ministries of member nations that are concerned with the anti-COVID-19 effort. The BRICS Foreign Ministers Group is analyzing the post-coronavirus situation.
There is a clear revival of multilateralism and internationalism. G20, the International Monetary Fund, I think they have played quite an important role in the midst of the outbreak. While the G20 has spoken about greater international cooperation, G20 countries have also spoken on a number of occasions. At the same time, the IMF has stepped in to help out developing countries. It has set up a fund specifically for developing countries. And then you also see at a regional level, if you look at this at South Asia, if you look at the case of SAARC, or if you look at the European Union as well.
In the recent past, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has often suggested that international organizations should give priority to development. At the recently held BRICS, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said the P5 members of the UNSC are now mulling global strategies to fight the coronavirus.
Everyone expects that United Nations will guide the international cooperation, and United Nations Security Council, being the apex body and most powerful body of the world, should come forward. Should we expect that in post-corona period, United Nations Security Council will be reformed and United Nations Security Council will think about development as its priority? Akhilesh Suman for Rajya Sabha Television in Delhi.
Professor Brij Babilal, one of India's most prominent archaeologists, turned 99 on Saturday. A renowned scholar with more than 7 decades of research and one of the most authoritative voices in the archaeological findings of the Vedic era, Indraprastha and even Ayodhya, was honoured by the government on Saturday morning.
Among all the many historical narratives and archaeological findings dating back several centuries, the works of Professor Babilal has a unique place. To mark the centenary year of the renowned archaeologist, Union Culture Minister Prahlad Singh Patel released an e-book, Professor Babilal, India Rediscovered, on Saturday at an event in New Delhi. Be it his findings at Kalibangan, the ancient Harappan site in Rajasthan, or his findings at Indraprastha, Professor Babilal's work throw a light on various vignettes from Mahabharata. According to Professor Babilal, the pattern of hillock and discovery of painted grey ware match findings from Hastinapur.
Researchers over the 5 decades and excavations have shown that the Harappan civilization and the Vedas are two faces of the same coin. So, the question of Harappan civilization being non-Vedic or the Vedas being after the Harappan civilization does not hold good.
Born on May 2nd, 1921 in Jhansi, Professor Lal obtained his master's degree in Sanskrit from Allahabad University. Author of more than 150 books and research papers, Professor Lal was awarded Padma Bhushan in the year 2000. Serving the Archaeological Survey of India for more than 3 decades, Professor Lal was appointed the Director General of the ASI in 1968. The position he served till 1972. Besides its excavation at Ayodhya and Sringaverapura, which indicated the historical traces of great epic Ramayana, he considers the dating of Vedic corpus as one of his significant works.
And below these Mughal monuments, we find something like 10 meters of deposit, taking you back through Rajput period, through Gupta period, through Kushan period, Shunga period, Mauryan period, and much earlier than that. And in the lowest levels, we also find painted graver pieces. So which makes it clear the painted graver gives a very good clue.
Spending over 7 decades in digging ancient sites of historical and cultural significance, the eminent archaeologist has each time shone the light upon our culture, language, and the history of our rites and rituals, uncovering the inescapable interaction between ancient India with our contemporary world. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And that's it from us in this bulletin. Thank you for your time. Stay home, stay protected, take care of yourselves.
Thank you.